Hello, and welcome to another episode of Awaken Your Truth. I'm here with Katie Harrison.
Hi.
Hi, Katie. Today we're going to be.
You? Oh, go ahead.
I'm amazing. We're going to be chatting about releasing a layer. So this is kind of like identity when we talk about who we think we are versus who we really are, and just all the layers of this unfolding, layers of fear, layers of conditioning, and the radiating of our true self coming out.
And I love the word releasing. It feels so good.
And I love the word layers.
Layers. I do. Releasing a layer. What a fun podcast topic.
How are you, Katie?
I am so excellent. Just feeling open, wide open, in love with life, in love with the releasing of the layers.
Yes, that's amazing. Do you have a joyful moment to share with us?
Of course I do. A joyful moment from this week was coming home from work, and in Alaska, as I come home from work at 4 p.m., it is getting dark and just kind of twilighty. So I'm pulling down the driveway. I see the alpenglow, which is pink on the mountains. It's getting dusky, and Tom has a sauna going. So I get to head into the house, put my bathrobe on, head out to the sauna, and just immediately have a fabulous session. But one of my favorite parts is coming out at the end of the sauna, and we've heated up a big pot of water. And now it's totally dark, but we have our Christmas lights on, and taking our little shower with the hot pot of water under the stars on my porch, just feeling so revived and energized and at peace and in love and appreciation for Tom making the sauna. Just being in that beautiful moment of feeling the cold air and dumping the cold water or hot water on my body and looking at the stars and the Christmas lights, like so delicious.
I can just feel that the difference between like the cold air and the hot water, and then the wide open stars and skies. I used to love showering in our outdoor shower, and sometimes I would go at night, and it just feels so amazing.
It really does.
I love
What's your joyful moment?
My joyful moment is there was a morning that I woke up last week, and I was like, I want to move my body, and I grabbed my yoga mat and I went outside, and still the whole campground was like quiet. The sun on the horizon was just like pink, and I'm like looking over the water, and we have our cat and our dog traveling with us. So Maxie, our cat, was outside just sitting beside me, and I'm like on my yoga mat, and it was just going through these motions, and I wasn't following any class or anything, and I was just doing some movements and sun salutations, and it felt so connected, coming up with the sun and to be outside in that space and the water. And this is my dream. Like, this is what I've always wanted. It's here. And it was the feeling of connection to life itself, and just my life, my experience of that. It was beautiful. My feet on the ground. I would have loved it.
I feel the energy of that. And you know what I think is so fun since we've started doing these joyful moments is how present it's brought me in life, in terms of, this is a joyful moment. This is a joyful moment. Like just saying this is a joyful moment.
Yeah.
It's such a good feeling. We have a sign. We have a little sign in our cabin that comes from a wine company. When they ship us some wine in a box, they have this little, like a sign, but it says, "Life is full of abundant moments. This is one of those." Like every moment is abundant. And it's so fun because every single moment is abundant. Every single moment can be joyful. Even releasing the layers,
releasing the hard stuff. And if you're listening and you're started to pay attention to some of your joyful moments, or when the joy is there, feel free to share them with us. Like, we would love to know. Just drop us a note for us on our website, awakenyourtruth.love, so we get to just amplify all that.
It expands joy. It totally expands joy.
Totally. Yeah. So where the inspiration for our topic today came was in the past week or so, I've been going through a releasing of a layer, as we're calling it. And we wanted to share and talk about it because it's just so powerful. And there's all these different elements of it that maybe will help you realize when something similar is happening in your life, and you can recognize, okay, nothing's going wrong. This is just a releasing of one of the layers.
Mhm. What
So
should
where
we
do we
start by
start?
saying, like, yeah, what are we talking about when we say layers?
Yes. Well, layers of an onion.
Mhm.
So we have our true self, we have the core of who we are, and we have learned all these ideas about ourselves throughout our life, right? We've kind of accepted different things as true about ourselves or about reality. And
Mhm.
that's what I think as of the layers, is all these layers of conditioning or layers of accepted truths about
Yes.
ourselves and the world. What about you? How would you say what the layers
I
are?
would say the same. I'd say conditioned beliefs that are automatic until we have an awareness of them. And I also envision like just these piles of fears stacked on top, like these layers of fears that we have been taught, because fear is not real. And I know that's a profound thing to say, but what we are opening to more and more is that there's no such thing as fear. It's always the mind.
Yes. And fear as in that feeling of being scared.
Mhm.
That's that yeah, that is comes from the mind. Now, I want to ask you this. It came up when you said conditioned
Okay.
beliefs. Are there, even with our positive beliefs, what would people would say are positive beliefs, are those also conditioned?
Can you give me an example of a positive belief?
A positive belief. Okay, so let's say a positive belief is the about, so let's say about myself. So I believe I'm intelligent. I believe I'm good at sports. That would be a positive belief about myself. Is
Yeah,
that
those are conditioned. We collect that evidence from our life to support that and create that version of the self of who we are.
yes.
Ooh, and this brings us back to fear, because when that sense of self is questioned, oh, does that feel scary?
Yes.
Because it's unstable. It's your mind's idea of who you are.
Yeah. I wanted to bring that up because to show the almost equality of the fear, we learn the fears as much as we learn the other parts of ourselves.
I'm
Whether,
glad you did.
yeah, because there's something beyond both of those sides of beliefs, whether they're positive or negative,
Mhm.
that is our true self. It's like our truth is underneath all of those conditioned beliefs, whether they're positive or negative. So we're not talking about only focus on the positive things about yourself or your life in order to get your sense of security. We're talking about there's something beyond that. There's an eternal truth.
Can you
Did you get that,
repeat that
Katie?
last part, Ginny?
Where's I was just saying that there is an eternal truth beyond all those thoughts and beliefs about that is who we are. I lost you again.
I
What did you last hear?
what did you say? There's the positive conditioned beliefs about ourselves are there too.
Right. So that there's the negative beliefs about ourselves or our world, or there's the positive, but who we really are is beyond both of those
Is
things.
beyond both of those things.
Yeah. So the layers that we're talking about are all those layers. It's knowing ourselves beyond all those layers, and we need to release them in order to know ourselves.
And I think, or I feel that this is our evolution as humanity. We are being called to inhabit the planet in a new way, in a
Yeah.
way that comes from being our true selves.
Yeah.
And in order to be our true selves, we got to release some layers.
So what came up for me last week was literally the questioning of everything I've ever believed. So everything Katie just said about why we're here, all the thoughts, the beliefs, our true selves, all of that. I, in my mind, was like, but is that really true? Right? It was questioning that, but how do you know that? And so everything I've experienced and everything I knew, like being grounded in my truth, my mind was like coming in hardcore. My ego and my pain body, I was pre-period. So I knew that was happening as well,
Yeah.
which we are going to have an episode on actually coming up, in how we can use well, females can use the menstrual cycle to awaken
Yeah.
instead of necessarily just get pulled into it. But yeah, so I could feel that this was all, I was questioning what was real, who I am, what I believe. And it, I knew it. The difference I think this time was that I knew it was coming from my mind, but I didn't want to stop it almost. Like
Mhm.
I let it go. I let my mind run with it a little bit, because it just felt like I needed to give into it almost in a little way.
You know what I'm feeling as you say this is letting your mind run run with it is actually feeling the doubt. Instead of suppressing the doubt and the uncertainty and the fear, which a lot of times we do, you were letting it come out. It's almost like bringing that energy to the surface and let it play out a little bit so it could be released.
That feels true. And so even in my questioning, I was saying it's okay that there was always acceptance of where I am, which I think this has taken a lot of practice. So
Yes.
I'm allowed to have these thoughts. I'm allowed to let my mind run. I'm allowed to feel off. I'm allowed to not believe this.
I love this so much
Yeah.
because a lot of times in the spiritual practice, when we're feeling off and we're not feeling that connection to source and the joy, love, and peace, the mind comes in to judge. And then the judgment feels icky and says, well, you need to be feeling better. You need to knock that off. Like there's the mind coming in the back door, kind of as Eckhart Tolle says, but you giving your mind permission. And I have this image, I don't know why, like of a dog team just running wild and you're on the dog sled, just holding on for dear life. But the dog team is running and you're like, this is okay. This is all right. Like you're letting it go instead of slamming the brakes on and saying, not acceptable, dogs. I'm going to control you.
Yes. That is totally what it felt like, is just letting myself feel any like that was there, that I didn't try to stop it, which has always been very, very uncomfortable for me, because my mind was always saying, you're not this person.
Yes.
You don't do this. You don't feel this. And then all the shoulds and everything as well. So it was a big opening for me to let myself just feel all that. But it's so tricky to explain, because it's not like I just say, okay, you're allowed to feel. It's like over and over and over,
Over and
catching
over
the
again.
mind and saying, this is okay, this is okay, this is okay. And then when your spouse is questioning you or things, you're saying, it's okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. Don't try to fix me yet.
I'm just having so many questions for you regarding this. First, I just want to say that it feels like you released a big fat layer. Like I'm seeing the onion and that's a big juicy layer. But in the midst of this, did it feel scary because you in your mind are like, the person I am is the person who leads others in
Oh
these
my
beliefs.
gosh.
Like, was that crazy scary?
Oh, big time. I was like, but this is still my mind. Like, how could you possibly lead others when, if you're still like this, or if you're like this, if you're
Oh my
feeling like
gosh.
this? Yeah, it's so amazing. And then, so my mind, and this is something it does, has say, okay, well, you don't have to do what you do anymore. It was like, okay, you're probably
It's like
not.
trying to soothe you.
It's
Okay,
trying to
fine. We don't have
soothe
to do that.
Yeah. Oh, you don't have to continue on this path. You could give up everything. That's fine. And I actually think like that thought is part of the process for me, because
Because
then
you can
because I
accept where you
accepted,
are.
I didn't
Mhm.
fear like, okay, well, if this isn't going to be my path, then there'll be something else. Okay, what would that be like? Okay, like just it's endless acceptance of whatever tricks the mind is trying to play. And you
Wow.
can't figure it out. You cannot plan your way out of this. You can't say, I'm going to feel this for a day. You can't say, okay, in 2 days I'll feel better. Or, okay, I just have to do this. I just have to meditate and then I'll feel better. This is releasing the layers has no rules, and you can't
Right.
try to confine it.
And it's so fun because basically we have no advice for our listeners.
Yeah.
There's no step. Like step one,
There's
you do
no
this.
steps.
Step two, you do this. Nope. It's just it honestly, and I feel like a lot of our questions can be answered with the word presence. It's presence. Like
It's the
you
only
got to be
thing.
present with it.
Mhm. And there was, so going through this, which, and I would say it was about a week. There was maybe like 2 intense days, and then there's like a week of before and after those intense days. Practicing presence, the idea, so I knew that, okay, all I have to do is stay present with this. And no, that was not happening. So, I mean, like presence usually feels very joyful and easy to me. And so that was not the case in this time. But I didn't like write it off. I just said, okay, it is what it is.
I love
So,
saying it is what it is. I
yeah.
love saying that. I love saying this too shall pass. Like
Yeah.
just because it feels good. Okay, I've been here before. This too shall pass.
Yes.
And I can be here.
Yeah. So it's a different experience of presence in those times, because it doesn't feel like connected
Yes.
joy, but it feels like I'm being as aware as I can be. And that's, yeah.
But that's a part of the release is you have to feel the feelings.
Yes.
You have to feel it all.
Yeah. Even so within that time, one of the questions was about, well, you don't even know what truth is. So, and I can remember even then my mind's like, yes, you do. Of course, you know what truth is. You know it by how it feels. And you can feel that essence. And so even through that time, it's just that piece was very, very small. It never
Right.
went away, but it
Right.
was like not even simmering in the background. It was just like a very small light. But it was still there if I looked.
So when you looked, did that involve being present and like just feeling into the body and the now and the
Yes.
Mhm.
That's what looking felt like. It's like just opening the space to know that's there. And the interesting part, and I think I mentioned this once, was that I was consciously not wanting to tune into the inner being. Like I knew that, okay, well, you can just go right with your inner being and you'll feel connected again. You could just call Katie and, she'll ask you questions and you'll feel connected again. And I was like, no, it's like, I don't
Okay.
want that.
Does that feel like you just had to be in it as a part of the release?
Yeah. It was like I
Mhm.
wanted to be in it. Like that I knew there was that some part of me knew there was value in
Oh,
feeling it
yeah.
all and not trying to change it. And I think because like it's taken me a while to get to this place where I trust the path, whatever it is, so much that I'm like willing to be so uncomfortable and let it be okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Could you at times feel into the idea that this is an opportunity? Or was
Yes.
that not present? You could at
Like,
times.
I don't know. It's like an underlying knowing, but it never felt good. But like
Yeah.
the fact that it was an opportunity never felt positive or good. But I did know. I did know that.
What does not good feel like? I'm just curious, like
Yeah.
from the
It
experience.
feel like there's a lot of like self blame. Like it's disconnection from your inner being, right? It's like
Mhm.
blaming and like tense and heavy and ugh.
It's it feels like really heavy on the mind.
Heavy. Yeah.
Heavy on the mind with the
Press.
judgment and the like is I
Just
know the
you're
feeling.
no
It's like,
good.
"Ugh, you're no good." Yeah.
You're doing everything
Oh,
wrong. You're
you're
a
doing
failure.
everything wrong. Oh man, I can feel that.
But it's funny because like those weren't like clear thoughts. I wasn't thinking those thoughts,
It's
but
just that
that's the
feeling.
energy of it was coming up.
And now on the other side of it, what
Yeah.
do you know?
Oh wait, I got to tell this one
Okay,
story
yeah.
first. So
Okay.
by the time when I started to be open to ready to, okay, now I'm ready to feel better. And it's just, again, you can't plan it. You just wake up one day and you know it.
Mhm.
And then, so that was the day I talked to Katie. I'm like, okay, we can talk now. And
And
then,
it's
so
so funny. Energetically, I was like, "Ooh, Ginny's in it. Ginny's in
yeah.
it." And I like send her a little text or something, but I could tell like right away from her response, I'm like, "Oh, she's got to be in it. It's all good."
Oh man, it's so funny.
And there's like no judgment for me because girl, have I been there. So I just know.
Yeah.
I know this is the release.
Yes. It's one of the most beautiful things to not worry about what your friends are thinking about you.
It's so
It's,
good. I
yeah.
know.
So when we got on the phone and we chatted a little bit, and then Katie was like, okay, let's talk to your inner being. And like it was like in one question, and then everything came like bursting out
It was
back
like this
into,
huge waterfall of
yeah.
explosion of joy, love, and peace. It's like you opened the tap and like, woo, there it was.
That's exactly what it felt like. It's like as soon as I allowed myself, as soon as I knew I was ready, and then I allowed myself to go there, it was all came pouring out. And it was joy, love, and peace. And it was like into the knowing, into the truth, and knowing who I am, and knowing all of that was just a layer.
So
And
my
so,
mind wants to ask, just
yeah,
because I think it would be fun, why do we have to go through all that?
it's so, I just want to say one more thing about it, because
Okay.
as I come out the other side, I think if it was a way to summarize it, it would be that I know more deeply who I really am,
Mhm.
and I know more clearly the part of me is the conditioning, the part of me that's the fear. Like there's
Yes.
greater separation between my true self and the ego self or the false self, or all those conditionings, as we like to say. So it's with a layer released, it like allows me to see it clear and be more grounded in who I am, so that I can make the choices that honor who I am.
Isn't that wild?
So
All the
that's why.
questioning and not knowing and discomfort had to be felt, had to be accepted in order to be released for you to feel closer and more solid in your truth.
Yeah. And I don't know any other way for us to, we live in a world of duality. I don't know any other way for us to experience this
Right.
other than to have to experience yourself through the lens of your conditioning, and then to remove a layer of that lens and then feel yourself. Like it's just a different experience.
It's a different experience. Do you feel like just lighter and more free? Do you have that
Yes.
physical sensation? Yeah.
Lighter, 100%, more open and free. And also at the same time, I was telling Katie, very, very grounded, like it just a deeper groundedness in truth. Yeah.
And your truth is?
I mean, my truth is love, joy, and peace. You guys can't see her on YouTube. She's like giggling.
It's
Yeah.
so fun. I'm thinking back to when we're in our tribe with our women and they maybe come to a call and you just know they're in it.
Yeah.
And like my little inner being part of me is like, whoa, I'm like so excited. I mean, I can have the empathy of like, oh yeah, I know what it feels like right now, but I also know what this release of a layer does. And it's always worth it. Even the worst ones, it's always worth it.
So that's what you were feeling. Now I can see that. Because I know that feeling of like seeing someone in it and be like, oh, this is so great. Oh yeah. So is there anything else we want to share about just this releasing layers?
It maybe just the openness and the trust and the understanding that it's all for you. It's all for us. And I think it's, quote, like normal when we're awakening to have these moments that feel like lows and questioning and doubt. And even like you were saying, just like hate and the icky feelings, like that's because that's not who we are. That's not our truth. And when we're feeling it, they're coming up to be felt and then almost like disintegrated with the light of who we really are.
Yeah.
Which gives us the solidity in our truth to be who we truly are on this planet more and more, and not get lost in the mind's idea with all those conditioned beliefs and fears.
So much about grounding in our truth. No, like not learning who we are, who we really are through our life experiences.
And more awareness that everything's an opportunity.
Everything's an opportunity. That's right. If you guys have any questions too, feel free to ask us about what we talk about or anything at all. We'd love to.
We would love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening and being with us. I had so much fun sharing space with all of you today, and I'm wishing you a beautiful day, weekend, morning, whatever it is.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.